Okay, so we're gonna run a little test here. Let's see what kind of mileage the TTR110 gets. So I'm gonna fill this up all the way. I got it on a 2x4, so it's sitting straight up. Put as max in it as I can, right to the top. And I'm gonna ride. Every time I go riding, I'm gonna wear GPS so that I can calculate all the distances. And like I said, tank filled up, got a GPS. I'm gonna see what kind of mileage we get out of this tank. I'm gonna have to look it up, see what the capacity is of this tank. It's probably like 1.5 gallons. We got 19 miles, 19.5 miles. Let's see what gas looks like. Probably didn't even use 1/4 of a tank. Okay, so continuing on, as you can see, we got 19.5 miles on this tank. We're gonna do some more riding today, and we're gonna ride this thing until it leaves me stranded somewhere to see how many miles we can get out of 1 gallon of gas on the TTR110. Starting off today at 30 miles, still running on the same tank of gas, which is 1 gallon, to see what I can get a maximum range out of this. And this is going to be hardcore use for a tank, because I'd say 90% of the time I'm wide open on this. So, you know, you could get better gas mileage than whatever this turns out to be, you know, if you ride a little less aggressive. But just wanted to go over the bike real quick, because, you know, I've been riding for almost 40 years, and when my son said we wanted to get pit bikes, I was like, what a waste. Why would I want to do that? It seems silly, seems stupid. And somehow he talked me into it, and I ended up picking this 2017 model that had very light use on it. A guy had bought it for his daughter, and she had crashed it, got scared of it. So I mean, the plastics were even scratched up when I got it. And for 1,500 bucks, which, you know, it was cheap for almost a brand new bike. So I got it. He ended up getting a CRF a week later, and the first thing we discovered was, you know, they're great bikes. The engines are fantastic. I mean, they're almost bulletproof. You can't hurt these engines. You put a quart of oil in them every couple months, and they pretty much will run forever. But the first two shortcomings we noticed was the suspension and the tires. So those were like, the first thing we changed was the tires. You definitely, if you're going to be an adult and you want to ride these, you got to get the better tires, because otherwise you're just going to crash, especially if you're riding hard. But what we discovered was how much fun they were. And I mean, when me and my son ride, we're like, it's cutthroat. It's balls to the wall, you know. And both bikes are identically matched in power. The Yamaha has maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour on top speed over the Honda, but you never get that in the dirt. because you never get a chance to wind it out that long. Plus the fact that you have resistance in the dirt and the grass that you're never going to get top speed like you can do traveling down the road. Down the road, cranked out, me at 165 stock gearing on this bike, I can hit 48 and like a half miles an hour, screaming it. Doesn't hit the rev limiter, but I mean, that's as fast as it'll go, about 48 and a half, which for a little 110, that's flying. But like I said, these bikes, racing them, you know, you got so much less chance of getting hurt because you're so low to the ground. You don't need as much protective equipment, so you can ride them in the summer, you know, when you really don't want to put all the gear on and jump on the two-stroke and be sweating in 5 minutes. You can do this with a pair of shorts and knee pads and still go at it and have a blast. And the nice part about it too is you come down to who makes a mistake, because when you're racing, you're pretty much full throttle everywhere you can go, shifting as quick as you can. And since the bikes are identical, it's like, all right, well, who's going to make a mistake? Who's going to choke in a turn? Who's going to miss a shift? Who's going to miss a brake point? And that's how it like allows you to fine tune your skill. You really have to pay attention to all the other details regarding it not having any power, because there's no power in these bikes. You just pretty much get on them, twist the throttle all the way to the stop, and shift and brake when you need to. But like I said, after we got it, I immediately did the tires, and then the first thing next was I had to do the front suspension because it just bottomed everywhere. Even just putting the front brake on would bottom it. And so I went and got the BBR springs, I got the BBR dampening rods, and the BBR spring for the back. Had that all put on. The difference was the bike sat a lot higher, and what I noticed was if you try to ride this bike slow, it's too stiff. It doesn't like it. It wants to be ridden right on the ragged edge all the time. That way you get the suspension to work the best. I mean, pretty much just like any race bike that's set up for, like, you know, aggressive riding. So if you put somebody on this like a little kid and let them ride it, it kind of has a little bit of a sketchy feel to it. And it's noticeable even by my son, who is a fantastic rider, but you know, he doesn't ride it that much because I don't let him, because he crashes everything. You know, when you ride it really aggressive, it works so well. And it's just, you know, you got the little tiny tires, you can make such sharp turns, and it's just so much fun. And what happened was we ended up riding these bikes more than the big bikes because there's just so much less production that goes with it. You don't have to pay attention so much about the air filters or the case oil or the premix in the gas or putting on all the gear. It's pretty much you just get them out of the garage, start them up, warm them up, and take off and just go have a blast. So and especially now with things the way they are, you know, we're in the middle of this quarantine, so you know, I told my son, you know, we're not riding the big bikes. I don't need anybody to be in a hospital, so we're taking a break from the big bikes, and we're gonna just ride the little bikes. And I haven't really heard a complaint out of them. We have just as much fun going at it on these. And so, you know, if you've never ridden one, or you're an adult and you think, I'm gonna ride that, I'm gonna look stupid, it's not gonna be any fun, you're totally wrong. Yes, you might look stupid, but oh my God, they're ridiculous fun. And if you could see Travis Pastrana on one of these, you know they're fun, because that guy doesn't do anything that isn't fun. And you know, it's also the point of, you really don't have to worry about breaking stuff, because you know, I've broken like 3 of these levers already, and they're $6. And I found that if you cut them down, you don't break them as much. And there's dirt. I just crashed it the last time we went riding. I ate it in a corner. And it's like no loss, you know? It's like you basically just fall over, you slide a little bit. The bike's so light, the chances of you getting hurt are pretty low. And even looking at like the spokes on these tires, you know, you would think that if you get these airborne, you're gonna bend a rim, you know, being 160 plus. It's not the case. You know, the short spokes, these rims are really tough. And I've had this thing 4 foot in the air, and yeah, it lands hard, but it does it. Hasn't broken anything, you know, and I try not to do it all the time, I mainly just like to rip corners hard on these, but you know, when we're racing, you do go in the air. So yeah, I got nothing bad to say about them. I mean, I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad my son talked me into it. You know, you're definitely going to have to make some mods for a larger person. First off, the bars. Stock bars will hit your knees when you try and turn. It's really annoying. You know, I got these are the XR50 bars Pro Taper, and they were perfect. And until I stretched the front forks, all the cables fit. When I did the suspension work on the fork, I had to change my front brake lever, and I have a video on that. You know, there's a video if you want to check it out of me installing that. It's a CRF 100F front brake cable, and that fit perfect. But you know, now that I've got this pretty much dialed in, and it didn't take a lot of money, you know, it was like tires, handlebars, you know, grips, pretty much it, and the suspension, it's perfect. It's so much fun to ride on. And I've even seen where you could put a manual clutch kit on these for like $100, and I might do that. I've kind of been considering it. And the way it works is it's still an auto clutch, but you have the function of the clutch if you want to use it. And then I'm thinking that would really help, because sometimes in a corner where you're trying to get squared out quick, there's just nothing there. You know, it's if you're not high in the rev range already, it's just gonna bog. So I still might add the clutch kit for $100, and that'll probably be the last mod I ever do to it. But just wanted to do this forward here, you know, as we take these out, and we're getting ready to ride now, and we're gonna see how far before this tank of gas leaves me stranded somewhere. And I'm guessing it's probably gonna be around 45 miles, but we'll see. And that's absolutely blowing my mind. But let me get geared up, and we'll see how far it goes. Oh, that looks like that's it for the regular tank. Where are we at? 48.1 miles. Flip it on reserve. Let's see how far that goes. That was it. TTR 110, 1 gallon of gas, riding like a maniac. We got 53.2 miles, which is pretty good. I didn't think it was going to go that far. Well, actually, I thought it was going to go to like 60 some, but considering the way I rode it, that's pretty good. So if anybody wanted to know how far you can ride a TTR 110 on a full tank of gas, regardless of how hard you twist the throttle, it looks like 53 miles is the number. So, and it's a 1 gallon tank, so she gets 53 miles per gallon if you ride it aggressive.